And welcome to another episode of 50 Shades in Grey, and the first one of the new year. So happy new year to all of our followers and anyone that's joining us for the first time listening. So we're getting in towards the mid-January now, and by now you've probably either started your New Year's resolutions with a bang, or you've ended your New Year's resolutions already with a crash. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about resets, restarts, and how we look at the new year as an opportunity for fresh beginnings, new opportunities, and chances to change things we may not be happy in our life. Now, much of the podcasts that we do on 50 Shades in Grey are around relationships and dating. And that's what we're going to look at, how our New Year's resolutions today affect our dating and maybe our relationships and choices that we make. So we asked everyone to send in what their New Year's resolutions were, and it was all pretty much the normal things that we do every year, like watch less TV, get out more, more exercise, join a gym. But there were a few that were very heartfelt, and people saying that they really want to find love this year and they like a new beginning in their relationship or get through the struggles that they're currently having in their own relationships as well. So we're going to look at a few of those today and just talk about how we can maybe look to navigate our way through those. Now, a fresh start is always good. It's always good to start again. And January is a perfect time to do so. And every Sunday, I usually find every Sunday I'm telling myself that I'm going to do something better the following week. But I think January is a time that, especially after Christmas, after a big holiday, especially a holiday that's filled with love and family, it does make people reflect on where they are and where they want to be this time next year. And I often find that's a big drive. It's like this time next year, I don't want to be single on my own. I want to be happy with someone. But is that too much pressure to place on yourself? It's not easy midlife trying to find new partners. It's complicated. And even when you do find the right person, it's still very complicated navigating your way through that relationship anyway. So it puts an enormous amount of pressure on yourself and your partner if you've already got a set goal in your mind for a year later, because it could be they have situations that they need to resolve before they move on with you, or it could be that you have situations that you need to resolve before you can fully immerse yourself in someone else. And that could be to do with work, it could be to do with past relationships, or it could be to do with sort of kids in your life that you may have as well. So it's very, very difficult even once you get to that stage. But getting to that stage, first of all, involves making sure that you're putting yourself and giving yourself opportunities to meet people. Now, there's so many of the messages that we've had as well from you guys that are just saying, I've had enough of dating. I can't find any decent men. I'm fed up going out, meeting people that there's the same conversations all the time, and all they want to do is, get me in bed as quick as they can and move on to the next one. And I want more than that, and I want a deeper connection before I'm physical with someone. And you should be. 100% you should be. You should want all of those things, but you need to keep pushing yourself to get through those things. As I said a few times, for every person that you meet that's wrong, you're one person closer to meeting someone that's right. There are a lot of single people out there, and I think that's one thing that the dating apps do show us, is that you're amazed by how many single people there actually are out there that you can meet. Granted, they're not all in your street, or they're not all 5 minutes away, but it shows you that there are opportunities out there. Now, you may be someone that wants to meet people organically, which is a great way of meeting people because it takes out a lot of the situations on dating apps that we don't actually like in each other and like doing to each other, because it is a process of elimination of things you don't like. And it is a visual app predominantly. So your first instinct is to look at someone and judge them on their looks. And then, you go from there really, where when you meet people, when you're out, you do all these things in a very natural manner, and it feels a lot less sterile than sometimes dating apps do. They feel very cutthroat sometimes when I was doing dating apps, and they're still very much that way now. And it's interesting this week that my son started to have a look at them with his cousin, and it was really interesting watching younger generations that are very used to it. There's no stigma attached to dating apps anymore, and the younger generation just use it as a tool to meet people, and predominantly one of the biggest tools to meet people, because they're not always meeting people when they go out, so they use it all of the time, and they approach it in a completely different way. It's a lot less it's a lot more casual, and it's a lot less stressful for them. They sort of roll with the punches, they don't take anything personally, and I think that's how you have to do it, and that's very difficult in midlife to actually have that approach on dating apps, because you do place a lot of emphasis on pressure of meeting someone, because you do ultimately want to meet people, rather than going on it maybe as we should do really, as just an experience, just as a fun thing to go and do, with maybe an outside chance that you may meet someone. And people do, you hear all the time stories of people meeting their partners on dating apps, and hopefully maybe you will this year. I know you're not going to meet anyone by not going on them and not going out and staying at home all the time, unless you're very lucky and you've got a very dishy postman that's going to knock on your door one day and he's single. So you do need to put yourself in situations, and the hardest conundrum is when you're happy single and you're settled. That's a great place to be. I've always said, been a big advocate of, you need to be happy single on your own first and foremost. That's where you need to be before you try and make anyone else happy. You've got to be making yourself happy, so you know yourself. The hardest thing to do though is when you're in a really good place and you're happy single and you've got your life set up and you've got your little circle of friends that you might go out with here and there, and you've got your routine in the week where you go to work, you come home, you do your dinners, and you might go to the gym a couple of nights, and you might socialise with different groups, that you try to balance up, right, do I want someone coming into this that could upset my routine? And that's one of the things I know I found when I was single, is that sometimes I thought, it's not that I don't want to meet anyone, I just don't want the aggravation of meeting someone and then it not working out and it frustrating me, and then it ruins my sort of happy equilibrium of where I am now, because then I've just got to start all over again, getting settled and getting my mind to sort of like getting myself happy again before I meet someone else. So that is a big jump, and I do understand it from people when they're sort of saying to me, I've had it with dating, I don't want to meet anyone anymore. But it would be really sad if you were to do that, and everyone's choice is their own, obviously, but you could find someone that could make you happy, and also someone could find you that you could make happy, and that's always a nice feeling. If you're making someone else happy, that does give you a nice feeling as well. So it's about keeping going as much as you can. But I do understand that people get to a point where they go, that's me done. I'm done. But there's still a lot of life left. If you're in your 40s, your 50s, you've still got 30, 40 years in front of you. That's another lifetime. I think we do think, especially with dating, that we're a lot older than you actually are. That sort of mid 50s or early 50s, that it may be too late for you. Absolute nonsense. We're living into our 80s and 90s now, God willing, and that'd be nice to share that time with someone that's not your best friend or not your sister or not your brother, whoever it may be. That's someone that you can actually share an intimate relationship with on whatever level that may be for you. And that would be a really good place for you to be. But you're only going to achieve that by putting yourself out there. And to be single, you need to be brave. If you're going out dating and doing all these things, then, there is a high risk that you're going to meet complete idiots, that people are going to let you down, that you're going to be heartbroken at times, be offended at times, be disgusted at times as well. And, that's all part, to a large degree, of the journey of being single and dating. So, as much as you can, if you've got the energy, try and keep yourself going, even if it's giving yourself 4 or 5 days on a dating app, just to see what it's like. And I know probably after 3 or 4 days, you'll be going, that's me, I'm done. I don't want to go there again. But it's always good to try, right? Once you give up, you're giving up on you a lot of the time. And there are many places to find love. I'm a big advocate of that as well. But it's always nice if you can have a whole picture to your life and share your life with someone as well. So maybe a case as well in the new year that you're looking at the relationship you're in, wondering where it's going to go next, wondering if it should go anywhere next, and how do you approach that? I know lots of people that have been stuck in relationships, and every year it's like, I'm going to sort this out this year. I'm definitely going to sort this out this year. And then 3 years later, they're still in the same place that they were, and it's not got better. I think if you're somewhere where you're working on a relationship and you can see improvements, then it's worth giving it everything. But if you feel that it's not getting any better, you have to make some difficult decisions sometimes, and those difficult decisions may be selfish decisions, and they're the hardest ones to make, especially when other people are involved and kids are involved, because you're sacrificing your life a lot of the time for your kids. Now, we would all do that at the drop of a hat. If there was, one bullet in a gun, you'd always take a bullet for your kids. I think everyone would do that. But in general life, when we're talking about relationships, our kids do grow up and they move on, and I know they always want us to be happy. So, and that can be a struggle getting there sometimes, depending upon the age of the kids. But eventually they want to know that you're looked after, because we've all done it with our own parents. If you've got single parents yourself, it's like it's a burden on you when no one's with them as well, because it's left to you to sort of go around there and make sure they're okay. Whereas if they've got someone else in their life as well, that does relieve a bit of the burden for you as well. So that's always nice if you know that your parents are happy. And it's very hard with relationships, that they are hard work. They are extremely hard work to keep going. I've never had massively long relationships myself, and I don't know a lot about what it's like to have a relationship beyond sort of 5-6 years and how you navigate those, but I do hope to. I have got a lot of experience in short-term relationships, so I know how they start and I know how they finish a lot, which helps me as well. And that brings us to the next thing for New Year's. You might be coming out the other side of a relationship now, and that can be a really, really hard place to be if you've been on the other end of someone else making a decision that has affected you in terms of heartbreak or loss or a split in the family. It's very, very difficult to navigate. And I do understand that for lots of you. It took me a long time to get over one relationship, and I think a lot of that time was spent looking at it in completely the wrong way. I think once I started to understand that both people need to be happy in the relationship, and if they're not, it's not serving anyone. And you can harbour resentment, you can keep all this frustration, but all that does is it's stopping you moving forward. And the bottom line is you need to move forward as quickly as you can in the best way you can when you're ready. Obviously, you need to do that when you're ready. But lots of you out there have spoke about, especially with men, that they've had other people and they've let you down, and you know you don't want that anymore. But sometimes relationships have a shelf life. You know, especially if you've been with someone a long time. Like I said, it's, you know, over 20 years, people change an awful lot, and sometimes you change in the same ways, but lots of times you don't, and you can be completely different people. That you're still trying to fight for something that really, if you both sat down and worked out, right, what are we fighting for here? Because do we want to be with each other? If one of you just doesn't want to be there, it's never working, because that person, you know, you've both got to want to be there. I've known couples that argue and argue and argue, but the bottom line is they both want to be there. And maybe they need the arguing in their relationship because that's what drives them forward. That's what gives them excitement, and they like that challenge. But the bottom line is you know, they want to be there, that I've seen. It's when you know one of you doesn't want to be there, because they just, it doesn't matter what the other person is going to do beyond a certain stage. They just want a new start and a fresh start. And I think as soon as you start to understand that, and that you realize that, you know, the other person's just made the best decision for them, and ultimately the best decision for you as well. Why would you ever want to be with someone that doesn't want to be with you? It makes no sense. Just to keep them around because it makes you feel better. You're not getting anything back from them. All you're doing is giving, and you're getting nothing back. So you're giving them all this love. And I think with relationships, that's what makes us feel important, and is actually loving something else that much it gives you a sense of fulfillment in your own life, because you feel like you're giving something to someone. But if you're constantly giving and you're getting nothing back from the other person, then it's just not right. And if they've made that decision because they know it as well, then they've made the best, hardest decision for both of you. And as much as you might miss and experience loss, if you harbor resentment, that's just going to fuel your need to sort of stay angry, and you've got to let that go. So if you're coming out of January and you're in that situation where you've come out of a heartbreak, or you've come out of a relationship, and or someone's finished you, whatever it may be, then whatever the circumstances are, you need to just maybe look at, you know, this is going to be the best thing. I don't know it now, and it's going to be hard to get through, but you will get through. And the sooner you can get on that will lead you out of the feelings that you're feeling, the better it is, because the other paths, they just go round in circles. And I wasted a good few years doing that myself, and it got me absolutely nowhere. And it wasn't until I started to realise that sometimes people make decisions that affect you, and you don't think they're the best things for you, but they are. They're the best decisions that people can make sometimes, and they hurt you. And that's the hard part of life, is our relationships don't always last. Sometimes they're stopped abruptly, and sometimes they go on forever, and we've got to enjoy them while they're there. And then when they're gone, realise they're gone. Be sad for a while, but sooner or later you have to pick yourself up and move on, however that looks to you. And if for you that is a case of you've had enough of relationships, you don't want to do them anymore, then that's your choice. But it's a brave thing to do, to keep going, to keep picking yourself up and keep going. It's a very brave thing to do, and that's why midlife relationships are so difficult, and it's so hard dating in midlife and relationships in midlife, because you're not starting from zero. You're starting from a place of lots of experience, so you know, both of you, what you want, what you don't want, what you're going to accept, what you're not going to accept. So there might be things in your dating that you're thinking that you're going to follow through with, like, you know, you might say to yourself, you know what, I'm not going to be the first to text this year. I'm not going to text first, or I'm not going to be intimate with someone until I've had 5 dates, or I'm not chasing anyone. I'm definitely not chasing anyone this year, or it may be I'm just going to see where this goes. Or it may be a case of you're in a situationship that you think, I don't want a situationship anymore. I want to know whether this is going somewhere or it's not going somewhere. And for some people, situationships are great. That's all they want. They just want situationships. They work for lots of people and they work well for lots of people. As long as you both know that you're in one and you know what the rules are, then that's fantastic. But to a certain degree, especially in midlife, everyone has situations that they're coming out of. Everyone's is just coming out of something or going into something. So everyone has situationships. So to a large degree, within a lot of relationships in midlife, they're all sort of bordering on situationships anyway, because there's always other situations going on that you both got to navigate. But I think this year it's for your resolutions. I think instead of resolutions like I want to find love, maybe think of what you want to start, what you want to stop, and what you want to reset. So something you want to let go of, something you want to embrace, and something you just maybe want to start again with. And then think of more of how we date and how we relate to people. And then hopefully you'll find love this year at some stage. And then the next big love moment coming up around the corner is Valentine's, which is always a cracker. So we'll see that in the shop soon, and that's another time where people get very emotional about relationships as well, because they remember these times, especially after Christmas going into Valentine's. It seems to be a date that people hang on to make sure you've got a boyfriend or a girlfriend because you want to be out at Valentine's Day. But again, just like Christmas, guys, it's one day. Don't sweat it. It's a day where you can go out for a meal and have your backside smacked with a bill. So, you might be better off without it. So, anyway, thank you for joining 50 Shades of Grey. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow, and send me your comments and any ideas that you'd like to hear on the podcast that we do. So I look forward to receiving those. Take care. Speak soon.